Hey everyone, I'm Jordan Boostmaster, and this is the ultimate Boostmaster bike chat. It's crazy to think that even just a couple years ago, in 2018, my Devinci Wilson was the only bike that I owned. A couple years later, and I've got quite a collection. Since YouTube has become my full-time job 2 years ago, it kind of makes sense that accumulating bikes is kind of a part of the job. Especially if you're someone like me who wants to find what is the best of the best stuff to ride. Whether that be which bike is the best or which components are the best and for what. So in this video, we're gonna go over all 6 of my bikes. I'll share the story behind each bike and how I got it and how I'm liking it so far. Obviously, I don't ride all these bikes equally. The main bikes I ride, of course, are my Rocky Mountain Maiden and the Transition Patrol, the Wilson as well. You're gonna find on my bikes I have a lot of different kinds of parts. I've been experimenting a lot. And over the years, I'm slowly figuring out what I like the best for brakes, drivetrain, suspension, and all that kind of stuff. I haven't got it all figured out, but honestly, I'm quite happy with what I have so far, and I want to tell you all about it. I've also decided I'm not interested in getting new bikes and selling bikes every single year. What I would much rather do is keep my bikes longer term, find out if I truly like them, and as long as I do like them, keep upgrading and pimping them out to become the best that they can possibly be. Of course, the best example of finding an awesome bike I love, keeping it and pimping it out, making it ride the best that it possibly can, is my 2013 Devinci Wilson. My 2013 carbon Devinci Wilson has kind of become synonymous with my channel, and I couldn't be more stoked about that. I first bought it in 2017, wrong size, kind of wrong everything. Honestly, almost every part has been swapped out since the first version that I bought it from. Aside from like the fork, the seat stay, literally everything else has been changed. But when I first got on this bike, it really felt right to me. Compared to the Norco Truax that I had at the time, the Truax was feeling a little bit more awkward and small and short, whereas this bike just felt totally normal. And this is where we discovered the Cash Money Gold Race Face Atlas handlebar that you guys absolutely loved. So I love having these kinds of handlebars on some of my bikes. I like my nice deity stem, 50mm for a 35mm bar. Some of my favorite grips here, the ODI Ruffian with blue rings, looks really slick here. So the front brake is a Hope brake. Now this is the first time ever trying Hope brakes. I got a decent deal on it, so I thought, okay, I'll just buy the one, try it out, and it is so awesome. It is the most powerful brake I own. The only downside I found is that it makes some chirpy noises. Okay. But then that's why I put on a different rotor to see if that makes a difference, and so far it actually does seem to make a difference. My rear brakes are just Saint brakes, 180mm rotor, but I actually put on different brake pads from a company called Basic Bike Co. They actually sent these to me for free to try out, as well as another pair for my Transition Patrol. So I put some new Hope pads in the front, some new Shimano pads in the rear. I'm curious if those will make any difference. So far I'm liking the pads. They feel pretty natural, pretty normal to what I'm used to. But the fork on here is just the same 2015 RockShox Boxer. The rear shock I've been trying lately is this EXD Racing Shocks Arma V3. I got this shock for free just last year, so I'm pretty stoked to ride that some more. The whole drivetrain is just a Saint drivetrain. I decided I really like those cranks. Saint cranks are probably my favorite. 32 tooth cog in the front. I got 1-up pedals. These are definitely really nice and grippy, so I like that a lot. Chrome Egg Overture seat. I actually really like these. My tires here, I've got some Michelin DH34s. I really wanted to try these out. So far I'm really liking them. The only disappointing thing is that they're not as wide as I hoped. They're rated as 2.4. They're really not. They're almost like a 2.2, 2.25, something like that. It depends a bit on the rim size you put them on, but still, they're skinnier than I was hoping. The rear wheel is an Alex Rim Super BH. The front wheel is kind of special. I custom painted it. It was like a Mavic. I think it was a 321. Put on a nice bronze hub. I think it looks kind of cool. I originally made that for my Sky Pilot back in 2019 when I put 26-inch wheels on that thing. There's definitely wear and tear on the frame. You can see lots of scratches. Some were done by me, some done by the previous owner. You can tell it's an older bike, and I really want to keep this thing in good condition. It's one of my favorite bikes, and honestly, as time goes on, this bike is just going to become more and more of a legendary classic bike. So my intention, of course, is to keep it long term and keep it in good riding condition for all of the rest of its days. Yeah, not too much else to say. I'm pretty stoked, you know. Otherwise, one thing that's always been really annoying with this bike actually is when you smash down the rear wheel. It's like it's engaging the hub or something. And I don't know, it pisses me off. I don't get it. It especially happens more when I'm riding slower down a trail. If I'm going faster, it doesn't really happen. But yeah, I tried other bikes. Other bikes don't so much do it. Some bikes maybe do a little, but it's a bit strange. I don't quite know what's going on there. My Maiden is definitely up better with that. I'd love to know if you guys have had that issue before or what. We're also gonna weigh all my bikes so we can see what they're coming in at, and the Wilson looks like it's 39.88 pounds. I think it's always been around that weight, and I think that's fine with me. All right, let's get into my transition patrol. This bike is an awesome bike, 2020 aluminum frame. Bought it last year, 20% off, that's kind of nice. This is my main kind of pedal bike, so it's a really great all-around bike. Marzocchi provided the suspension for this bike, which is so awesome, as well as my Maiden, as you'll see. So they gave me the Bomber Z1. This is set to 170 mil for this frame, and the rear Bomber CR coil. It's the only kind of rear shock that they make. And the wheels on this bike are so sick. They were also provided for me for free from Light Bicycle. So these are carbon rims. I chose the Onyx Classic hubs. They're silent, which is pretty sick. My first time ever trying a real silent hub. Carbon wheels are really nice because you don't really have to mess with them ever. The spokes are always tense. They just stay true all the time. They're really, really nice. Let's talk about my special Cascade Components link here. They actually sent this to me for free last year also to try out. I'm so stoked on it. I really like it better than the original rocker link that the frame comes with. And that's because this gives more progression to the suspension, and also it adds about 8 millimeters more travel. So it's about 168 mil rear travel now. Though it does add about half a pound of weight, it's totally worth it in my opinion, and I think it looks sick in this nice silver look. As for the cockpit, I've got a nice DD 50 mil stem, Chromag Fu 50. I've been trying different handlebars. This is a size small frame. They do have a lower stack height than I preferred. That's why I've been putting higher rise bars on it. So far it works quite well as it is. Grips, these are also some of my favorite grips, ODI Troy Lee design grips. These are so sick. I got Shimano XT Dior quad piston brakes. These are doing quite well. And these brake pads are also from Basic Bike Co., just like on my Wilson. So I'm actually trying two different pads. The front one is a slightly more organic-like pad. It's called the race pad. The rear is called the bike park pad, maybe a little bit more metallic-like. So I'm trying them both out, and so far, they're really nice and powerful. As for the rotors, they're both SRAM rotors. I just kind of like the SRAM rotors better than the Shimano rotors, to be honest. The tires I've got on here are Michelin Wild Enduros. I got these tires for free actually from a local bike shop, South Shore Cycles. Shout out to you guys. And yeah, I just went for the Gum X 3D compound. They're 2.4 inch wide, definitely good. I like the front tire the most. The rear tire, I'm not the biggest fan of, only because it's supposed to be a better, faster rolling tire, which I don't care for as much. So frankly, I would actually rather have the front tire as a rear tire, as long as it has stiff enough sidewalls, then that's what I would actually go for. So I'd actually prefer something with more grip, and when it comes to rolling speed, I'll take care of that myself. Got a nice STFU system up here, which is awesome. The drivetrain's a little bit of a mixture of things. It's a Shimano XT Dior crankset and ring, and then it's a SRAM drivetrain otherwise. I guess because I wanted to use the shifter and derailleur that I've already had lying around, but yet I also don't really care for the SRAM cranks so much. I do like Shimano cranks more. Fox transfer dropper post, 180 millimeters with a nice Chromag Overture seat. It's basically the new kind of dirt jumper seat, the same kind that you've seen on my Wilson. Yes, I have been pretty happy with the small, although I think a medium would also be good for me too. I just haven't really had a chance to ride a medium yet. But yeah, either way, the bike has been working really well. I've been very happy with it. So the Patrol weighs in at 36.84 pounds. It used to be almost a pound heavier when I had my Maxxis tires on before. But otherwise, you're gonna find my bikes are not very light, and I'm okay with that. All right, let's get into the beast that is the 2008 Norco A-Line. I've been so hyped on this bike. I was so stoked I could find it with the Monster T. I've been wanting to ride this fork for a while, and now I've got it. And this bike, which used to be my dream bike back in the day, it's pretty awesome. And yeah, it's a good 50-pound bike. This is the size small/medium. Bikes were already small back in the day, so even if I got this larger size, it would still be smaller than my normal bikes. So the fork, 2003 Marzocchi Monster T. The rear shock is stock. It's the Rocco TST coil shock. 500-pound coil on there. The wheels are the stock Sunrims S-Type, but the tires are Magic Marys, and I put on a new 2.6 Magic Mary on the front. As for the brakes, the rear is a Hayes Prime brake, dual piston, but the front I actually swapped out for a Shimano Saint brake because it's quad piston, and I just like the feel of these levers a lot better than the Hayes. I just had the one, so I just swapped that, so maybe it's kind of weird, but whatever. The rotors are 9-inch old school rotors, maybe a bit overkill on 26-inch wheels, I don't know, but it's also a heavy bike too. I upgraded the handlebar to a Chromag Fu 40. It is way better than the one that used to be on there. The grips are my favorite ODI Ruffian grips. The seat is, I believe it's the stock seat, WTB. I got a SRAM X9 derailleur. This is a different one from the one that I destroyed in the video you've seen.
Go.
It's a used SRAM X9, but I'm very happy with having that same derailleur back on there again. Truvative howitzer cranks, E13 bash guard there. Black Spire pedals with some nice big spikes in it. The Marzocchi stem on here is set at 60 millimeters. I'm really stoked on this bike and I just cannot wait to ride it more. Unfortunately, my whole spring has been kind of ruined from an elbow injury. So I don't know if you guys were all aware, but basically I had tennis elbow. I mentioned that to you guys in some community posts and Instagram and everything. And it's really just the dumbest thing. So what I was doing, this is back in April, I was twisting my elbow. It wasn't from riding or anything really. Sometimes I find that like maybe a muscle or a joint feels a little tight, so I want to like try and like pop it almost. That's what I felt like I should do. But when I did that, I overdid it. And then it hurt, like had constant pain and was kind of weaker after that. So I knew that I kind of went too far, but it was getting better every day. 5 days later, I went mountain biking. This is when we were testing out the new wood jump on our trail to plow. I was mostly doing fine, but as the day went on, my arm was getting more and more sore to the point where I realized like, wow, I actually shouldn't be riding. Didn't help that I was riding big, huge jumps and casing some of them. But I didn't expect it to be this bad. Basically, I must have torn some kind of tendons or ligaments or something because it was definitely a lot worse than I was expecting. I've been seeing a physiotherapist, a massage therapist, doing different therapies and everything like that, and strengthening and stretching exercises. And man, I'm doing so much better now. I'm almost at 100% to be honest, which means we can ride this baby again. And all my other bikes, of course. I have been doing tamer rides lately just to kind of see how I do. And yeah, I've been doing pretty well, so that's pretty good. So the A-line is coming in at 49.5 pounds. All right, let's talk about my BMX here. I'm not that much into BMX. I don't ride BMX very much at all. I just bought this from my local bike shop called Life Cycles here in Abbotsford. It was about 400 bucks. I'm pretty happy with it. Looks like the components are a lot of premium parts like the stem, the seat. I've just got myself some rim brakes here, which is really good because I'm not good enough to just go brakeless or anything like I know a lot of people do. X rims, Kenda tires. It's all pretty basic, does the job. I've been using this a lot for just getting exercise out on the roads, really. I went to the Air Rec Center only once and I was having a lot of fun with it. I definitely want to go back there. But BMX is not my top priority or anything, so I definitely am focusing a lot more on the mountain biking. And the BMX weighs in just under 27 pounds. All right, let's go over my Diamondback carbon sinker hardtail here. The story of this bike actually goes back to 2019 when I was a part of the U Tour where they sent the Diamondback sinker hardtail to a bunch of other YouTubers. I was the last stop. It was a ton of fun. I hit the 45 footer at my local jump trail. That was so sick. But I was just borrowing the bike for a bit and basically I wanted to keep the bike. So I made a little deal with Diamondback. So they sent me this bike for free. This is the beginning of 2020 when I got this. And in exchange, I was just gonna make a bunch of content with it. Unfortunately, some health issues, like mainly my concussion from last year, got in the way of riding this thing as much. But it's the size medium. I think it actually fits me perfectly. I'm 5'10" myself. I did upgrade the handlebar to a nice DD 38mm rise handlebars. This used to be on my Maiden and I put it on this bike and it actually works really well on the hardtail. Nice Sensus to Boss grips, race face Atlas stem, Fox 34 fork, feels quite good. I do got a nice little scuff mark there on the fork, which kind of sucks, but doesn't seem to be leaking any oil. So that's all right, that's good then. I put on some straight line amp pedals. The seat here is an SDG Apollo seat, and it's in collaboration with Sensus. And yes, even for climbing, they feel pretty good, even though they're more of a dirt jump style seat. The brakes are pretty simple, just Shimano 2-piston brakes. Those would probably be the things to upgrade next if I wanted to upgrade. I think it's just a 180 mil rotor in the front, 160 mil in the rear. I love my plus size tires. I have a thing for nice fat tires, and I actually upgraded these tires to the 3C Max Terra compound, just on some Diamondback branded Blanchard rims. We've got a SRAM drivetrain here with the 50-tooth Eagle cassette and the 32-tooth in the front. Dropper post here is a 180 millimeter Fox transfer dropper post. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this bike a lot. Last time I rode it was at Mount Frome, and it was a ton of fun, especially with this handlebar. It really helped the ride. Honestly, I needed that extra rise, and this handlebar does it very well. And lately, since I've had the tennis elbow that I've been healing from, that also has been hindering me from riding this bike more. So that is really too bad. I definitely want to make some more content with this bike, but I need to make sure my body is totally strong, and then I'm not going to be making my elbow susceptible to any further injuries. And the hardtail weighs in at 29.2 pounds. And of course, I saved the best for last. And finally, we've got my Rocky Mountain Maiden. I'm absolutely loving this bike. I definitely made the right choice in going for this bike when I bought it last year. As you know, I basically just bought the frame used off of some guy, but not actually technically ridden yet. And then I built it up from scratch. Marzocchi provided me the suspension, the Bomber 58 in the front, the Bomber CR coil in the rear, and it's a 450 pound coil that I've got on this bike, which seems to work very well for my weight. I'm around 170, 175 pounds or so. And of course, the whole special thing I did last year was I set it up as a mullet bike, 27.5 front wheel and 26-inch rear wheel. Well, now I set it up 26-inch front and rear. So I actually got built up the same front wheel, same rim, same hub. It is a different tire this time. I have a Schwalbe Magic Mary, but it's also set up tubeless. This is actually my first 26-inch tubeless setup I've ever ridden. Basically, it's as similar as possible to the 27.5 wheel, and then I'm gonna see how the full 26-inch setup rides compared to the 27.5. For the cockpit here, I've got a nice Deity 50 millimeter stem, my classic race face Atlas gold handlebar, Sensus Desistibos grips with my own custom rings on them that say Boostmaster. Now, Shimano actually provided me their whole Saint group set last year for this build as well, so big shout out to Shimano. So we've got Saint brakes, obviously, 203 mil rotors, front and rear, the whole Saint drivetrain and everything. I got the 34-tooth cog in the front. We've got a 10-speed setup here. My pedals are these straight line de facto pedals. I actually really like these pedals a lot. The only downside is they are some of the heavier pedals you can get. The seat here, we've got an SDG Apollo seat. It's the same kind that was on my hardtail as well. This one just looks super nice being all black. Got some marsh guards for my fenders here. I am gonna change up at least the front one because I don't really like that orange anymore. And I am actually planning on doing a vinyl wrap on this frame into a blue color, basically covering over the green, replacing it with a blue. I'm really excited to try that out. I actually bought the vinyl wrap already, and I think it's gonna look really sweet. But yeah, that's gonna be a little bit of a process, so I just have to go ahead and do it finally. I did put a whole frame protection wrap over this whole bike and everything so that it could keep in good, pristine condition. The rear wheel I built up here was a DT Swiss 350 hub with a Sunringle MTX 33 rim. You may notice I did black out the orange Rocky Mountain logo there. I'm just not sure that it looked all that great, so I just put black electrical tape over it for now. I'll probably do something more permanent and legitimate looking later on. So you can see I did put on this little cup under the head tube here. It comes with the Maiden when you buy it, because then that's what you put on when you put a 26-inch front tire on here, because obviously it's the same 27.5 fork. And of course the rear, you got two vertical dropouts for 27.5 or 26, so that the geometry can always stay the same. Yeah, that's about it. I'm very happy with this bike. I can't wait to ride this thing a whole ton more, especially now in its full 26-inch setup, because last year I was riding it in the mullet setup the whole time. And to be honest, I was a bit unsure of whether I really liked that or not. Particularly for the flow trails and jump trails, I think I'm gonna like it better now with being full 26-inch. But for the techie stuff, I don't know, maybe I'll wish that I had a bigger wheel in the front, or maybe not, whatever. But now I'll truly get to see from experience.
and the Maiden comes in 38.9 pounds. That's a little heavier than when I first built it up, probably because there's a little more material now with the headset cup, and that front tire I think is heavier than the other tire.
Well, that's all my bikes, everyone. So thank you guys for watching. I'm really stoked about what we can do this year yet.
And I still have to reveal to you guys what in the world I'm standing behind here that I teased you guys a while back on some community posts. In my opinion, I made a very good investment into my channel, and my patrons know everything about what's going on here. But be patient, soon enough I'm going to reveal a really cool bike project this year.
And I'm getting so close to being healed fully with my elbow. I'm doing rides, I'm doing tamer rides. I'm riding at like 85%, let's say 80%. And I'm really making really good progress. So I gotta make my way to the bike parks like Whistler very soon. I plan on making a lot of Whistler content this year to make up for last year. But yeah, I've got some really cool plans ahead, so stay tuned.
All right, sweet. Drop. All right.